Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years retirement community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Ike Eisenmann, and today we are thrilled to welcome a singer, songwriter, lead singer of the Wigs, and also a member of the 80s group, the New Monkees, Marty Ross. Marty, thanks so much for joining us today.
I must be in the wrong room. Is this the right place? Okay,
Yeah, this is
all right. Okay,
we've been trying
that's
to get
me.
you on for a while. So we've
Yeah.
already had on Larry, we've had on Dino. So I
Yeah.
want to say that first, I'm a big fan of the New Monkees, and it's been so much fun for us to get to hear the individual perspectives,
Yeah.
and we'll get to them. But first, I want to start by asking you. I read that you grew up in a musical family. Your mother and uncle were singers.
Yeah, my mom was a folk singer. She was a really really talented lady, and my uncle Bob was they're from a place called Hereford in England, which was in the 60s, was a place where there was a lot of musicians that were coming out. It's the western end of England, specifically Ross-on-Wye. But my uncle played bass and guitar and was very successful in bands. As his story was pretty cool, because he was in a band called The Silence, and The Silence actually became Mott the Hoople, which was a big band in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my grandfather on my mother's side was an Air Force band leader, and used to lead the World War I flyers when they went off.
Oh my God.
And then when they come back, it's the 3 out of 10 planes came back. That was my grandfather. My great grandmother moved to LA in 1868 from the Irish famine, and became the first piano teacher in Los Angeles, and indeed the first teacher of music at USC. Started the School of Music there and became the dean of the School of Music in 1884 to 1891. And so I do have, a bit. My sister is a wonderful singer. She's the best singer out of the bunch, but she's very shy. Not like me, of course, which is one of my faults, is not being shy. But
Yeah, that's clearly obvious. So obviously, music is it's like in your blood. When did you start developing your own talent for music?
Well, when I first had to start making music, making money, that was when I first realized that music was for me. Being poor and broke and struggling, and that was the life for me. But in actuality, it was about 3 or 4 years old. 5, I was already a musician that my mother and father were aghast at. Oh no, he's going to become a musician. It was so obvious that it's been what I've been doing for my life. So I was encouraged until about 15, and then Dad said, well, that was fun. What are you going to do? I thought I'd do music, Dad. I said, well, it's a really tough business. I could not imagine starting out in life in any endeavor in this day and age. With the cost of everything, and there's no middle income jobs anymore. They're all, it would be impossible. I used to be able to play out and in bands and stuff, and be able to support myself with a road crew, a truck, a van, be able to stay in hotels, feed myself. This was a full-time job when I was 18, 19 years old, because you were able to do that. And you weren't signed. You just went out, you went on road tours, all the clubs in the Midwest where I went. And it was possible to do that. I don't know how people can, it's almost as if, like, if I was to go out and do the tour now, or do something, just a tour, and I'd go on play, and I'd say to myself, this is the same money I was making in 1980. And
Wow.
you know, I make 300-400 a night, you know, I mean, and you know, back then, nowadays, if you can make 100 to 200 on a gig, it's really lucky. And you know that if you're on the road, there's no way you can stay in a hotel, well, one that isn't go by the hour. Yeah, well, those kind of motels, you know. Yeah, you've got to have the keys back by us by 4 o'clock.
No, true. But I mean, so many people now do it, like, you know, YouTube and, you know, TikTok. Are they putting out their music, trying to be go
yeah,
that
TikTok.
way?
My song's only 10 seconds long. I hope you enjoy it.
Right. Well, you went. I mean, you grew up in so many different places. I was reading you were in the States, you were in England and Spain.
Yeah.
So was that difficult, moving from place to place and learning different cultures?
Yeah. Well, what was interesting for me was living in a small town. I was born in Eugene, Oregon. My dad's side of the family was from Southern California. He moved to get his first teaching job in Denver, then Rockford. Then he taught in England and did some work in Spain and on a sabbatical. And we did a lot of traveling. And I knew that when I didn't really know how small of a town I'd been in, living in Rockford, Illinois, until we went to go live in England and then in Spain. And then I realized that I had this amazing gift given to me by my dad, unbeknownst to him, was that even though I'm Caucasian, even though I'm a white guy, even though this is living in England, I was an American, and therefore I was one of only two, my sister and I, living and going to the middle school that we were at, which is high school in England. And it was rough because, you know, I was the immigrant. I was the minority. And it was just really strange every day getting teased and hassled and bullied by, you know, people all over in that school because I was an American, and they were enormously jealous of the Americans. And so that, you know, it was one of those things to have a kid. I was 13, 14 years old. My sister was 12. And coming back after I've spent all my time in Spain and going to Italy and going back to Rockford, Illinois for my sophomore year in high school, I had at one point before I'd left was a very, very shy person. I was, and when I got back, I was just over the top. I couldn't stop because I've been everywhere, man. You know, as the Johnny Cash song says, I had been everywhere in court, you know, and they thought, Marty, you're back to school. We thought you were on heroin somewhere. This was a reaction that I got. You know, it wasn't like, oh, it's so it changed me in a way that I understood what prejudice was. And I learned to be fair to people because I hadn't been treated nicely. I had a few friends of mine. My friends in England were Indians, and an Indian, Harjay Singh. And him and I would go to places and we'd get beaten up for riding our bikes, you know, places and stuff like that, because I was associated with him and stuff like that. So I learned what it was. But, you know, when I went back to Rockford, Illinois, I realized what a small town I'd been from, and what life can be really like when you're treated poorly. So I try to make it so that I treat all people with even foot. So that's the gift that was being traveling all over the place. And I think most people that do that, that are kids, get to understand that. But you've been to Riverside, right? You've been to Riverside, California.
Ike, maybe, not me.
Oh, I have been. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So you know what it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
We go to a foreign country. No, yeah. I'm teasing the people of Riverside. No letters, no cards and letters. Although a card or a letter would be unique, I'd probably open it. Isn't that interesting that you actually, if you wrote a card or a letter to your hero, they probably would go, hey, wait a minute, what's that over there? It's a card, it's a fan letter. Wow, I'll open that up because I've got $1,300 to open up on Facebook, you know, that kind of thing. Yes. But that card or letter.
No, I agree. I agree. So how did you get into the Wigs? How did that come about?
The Wigs. I was playing in a band in Rockford called The Look, and we were out Madison, Rockford. We were kind of like in the Cheap Trick family, because Ken Animati was their Cheap Trick's manager, and Chuck Toller, and they were out of Madison. And our bass player Hal Hamer worked for Ken Animati, Cheap Trick's manager. So it's very odd that we had so many photos that were done to 8x10s, very expensive, but we always had new 8x10s. We had this, and everybody that was a booker thought, wow, this band's really putting it to it. You know, they're really serious about this. We got asked to go play a battle of the bands in Milwaukee, which we hadn't played before. So we went to go play in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and there was a bunch of bands playing. We were on, and then we went off, and I was so thirsty for a beer afterwards because I'd been so nervous that I went straight off the stage, which was a very high stage, and jumped off and walked up the aisle towards the bar. This is a converted movie theater. And a guy gives me the slip of paper, and he says, "Hi, read this." And it said, "Hi, I'm Jim. I'm in a band that's better than yours. Call me." And he just left. And I went, "Oh, God, that's obnoxious." That is the most obnoxious note I've ever been given in my life. But I had to like say, wow, the chutzpah, you know? I mean, so I took the note and I folded it and put it in my pants. And being the musician that I was, I went back home. And a week later, The Look had broken up. We'd won the Battle of Bands, by the way, but we broke up anyway.
Oh my God.
But we broke up. That was the second Battle of the Bands that we had won, by the way. We had won one in Madison, we'd won one in Milwaukee now, because we were really good. But there was some shady things going on within the band that I didn't approve of, and I said I can't be in a band like that. So I won't go into it, but let's just say that things were on the up and up with the finances. So I just quit the band. The band broke up. And I kid you not, this is the hygiene of a musician. I was going to go out in Rockford at one point. I put on a pair of pants. This was like a month later from the Battle of the Bands. And I went and looked in my pocket, and there was the note there because I hadn't washed my pants. Mind you, this was after a show, right? They've probably done 2 or 3 shows. And I went like this, and there was a little runny ink that said, "Here, my band's better than yours. Call me. I'm Jim," with a number on it. And I called him, and he said, "Tomorrow night we're playing. You got to come see us. Tomorrow night we're playing at a place called the Brat Stop." And that's like just north of the Wisconsin border of Illinois, northern Illinois, north of Chicago. And I was going, "Are you kidding me? The Brat Stop?" And he said, No, it's the band. It's like last week James Brown played here. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. So I drove and I went to the Brat Stop and saw the Wigs playing, and they were really actually quite good. And they asked me to come up and sing, and I sang "Slow Down" and some other I think we sang 2 Larry Williams songs that were covered by the Beatles, and went downstairs afterwards into the dressing room, and they looked at me and they went, "Wow, was that as cool as I thought it was?" And I said, "I think that was as cool as I thought it was." He said, "We should like rehearse and see what happens and practice and stuff, And I said, "Why don't I just join the band?" And they said, "Well, cool, that saves us time asking you." So that was how I became a member of the Wigs. And the sideline to that one is that I'd go up. I had my apartment with my girlfriend in scenic Loves Park, Illinois, which is northern Rockford, which is, if you can imagine, a place that's not quite as nice as Rockford. So it's just a dumpy little town. But hey, no cards or letters, please. But it's probably it's really. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with this. So in any case, I would drive up and go rehearse with the band and come back and drive up on Friday and Saturday. and then I come back. And what was weird is that one weekend they said, oh, a band called the Shivers is playing. We've got to go see them. And I go, okay, cool. And I had heard of them because they were like really known amongst the musicians as being a band that's really rising, one of the ones to catch. And so I went to this place to go see the Shivers playing. And in the middle of the dance floor is my girlfriend dancing with this guy. Apparently she'd been following me after I left on Fridays, about a half hour behind me, and getting home about a half hour before me. And she's dating and having nefarious ways with this man. I yelled at her and I left, and I was so upset. I was just broken up. I was so naive. I didn't know people could do that, because I didn't know that was in the rules. And I didn't know. So it was kind of, I said, I'm going to join the Wigs and I'm going to move to Milwaukee, and you can go to hell. And so what was weird is that years later, she came to see me play, and she came backstage. I went, oh, Vanessa, how are you? She said, I'm fine. She said, can I talk to you for a second? I said, yeah. This is when I was doing pretty well. And I was doing okay, making a living, doing it fine. She goes and she looks at me. She corners me up in the corner. And she goes, please forgive me. Let me come back. Let me come back. And I recur and I think about that, and I think, boy, she just was pretty transparent. I mean, there's no, I mean, yeah, you were as transparent about like cheating on me as it was now asking me back, and that was the end of Vanessa. So she ended up being a swindler in another way altogether. But her and her future husband were selling that $100 bottle of grape juice that like cures everything, straight out of the Old West.
Oh my God!
You'll see them every once in a while. You'll see the miracle juice stuff and
the snake oil.
Like, yeah, and it was done in a champagne bottle. It was like so. This was years and years later.
Oh, that's great.
I started. Yeah. All right. So that's the Wig story. Jim, Bobby, and we went to move to LA after a while, and that story fizzles out, but it really doesn't before we get to the movie My Chauffeur and get signed to CBS Records. And it was quite an adventure with them. I mean, there's so many stories. The stories between the New Monkees stories and the Wig stories are so completely different, because when I got into the New Monkees, the guys in the New Monkees were kids. And I was a lot older, and I always wondered if I was going to redo the producers, throw something that makes a lot of money, make sure that I throw it. I mean, it almost comes to me as a picture of the New Monkees, whereas Warner Brothers didn't get the note from the TV series, make it as bad as you can. No, we're going to make an album. We're going to do a good album with them. No. Don't make a good album. It might sell, it might do well. No. I obviously think that there's like some sort of conversation that might happen about, I said, if I was going to throw a TV show and make sure that it didn't work, I would do the same exact things that I did with the New Monkees. I would do the same. I would do exactly the same. I would. And it's interesting, but going from the Wigs to the New Monkees was it was a weird thing, because at the time I was a very minor but a cult figure nonetheless, from some of the antics and music and the way that I was on stage with the Wigs and the look. So for a lot of people that found out that I got into the New Monkees, a lot of them said that I had sold out. And that was, and you can obviously understand going from being in bands that write their own things, struggling to then going to a TV show with the name the New Monkees. And my dad gave me the best absolute advice about that anybody ever gave me. And if anybody's watching this and something that you feel might not be that might be something that's less than what you figured you would be in, because we don't know where our life takes us, I said, Dad, people are telling me that I've sold out. And he looked at me and he said, well, son, you got to have something to sell in the first place. Which, you got to be pretty good. Whatever you're doing, you got to have something to sell in the first place. Then and that made me feel a lot better, because it made me feel valid in a certain way. So,
well, you touched upon it there, because we were going to ask about Maestro Park. First of all, how did that come about? Because I watched it this past week also, and saw you. So how did you guys get cast in a movie?
Well, we were auditioning for a Kodak commercial. All the wigs were. That would have been at that time me, Jim Cushionary, Bobby Tews, and Val McCallum. And Val McCallum's his own story, but being David McCallum's son. So there's a story going and meeting, and his stepdad at the time was Charles Bronson. So it was a really weird thing having Charles Bronson come and sit and, go, Trey, what kind of music do you call that, you punks? I don't know what you guys are saying. I can't understand the words. So in any case, we were doing a Kodak commercial, and those two guys, Matt and Vic, and that Fresco ended up being tagged as the producers of the new Monkees by Steve Blauner, Bob Rafelson, and Bert Schneider. And so they gave a go-ahead to it. And without really asking, I think at the time, Bert Schneider owned the name. And so it was like the fact, well, I own the name, we can call it whatever we want. And when they did that, that really made the original Monkees get, that all of them just went, are you kidding me? It was bad enough, Head was bad enough. But now to go and prove that you can do it again with just the same name and new in front of it, that would be really, I also did say something at the time that did make Steve Blauner laugh, and I said, we can call ourselves the Wigs. That's open.
So had you been a fan of the original Monkees at that time?
Yeah, of course, yes. Yeah. Of course, I was a huge fan of them. They were funny. The show was dumb. The music was great. I was born in 1957, so that gives you an idea how old I am. I'm much older than you guys. So I was 9 years old. I was a perfect age, and I was the perfect age. I loved the songs. I loved the music. At the same time that the Monkees were doing their show, to be in that time zone. You've got a time zone where the Beatles are doing I Am the Walrus and Penny Lane, and the Monkees are doing Last Train to Clarksville and I'm a Believer. Mm-hmm. And so what you had with the Monkees was a respite from the Beatles growing. And you had the Beatles from 1964. You had that all over again. Mm-hmm. You had that experience. I was too young for it. I remember it, but I was 7 years old. But then when I got to be 9 and my brain grew, it was just one of those things where a lot of the girls were into the Monkees and a lot of the guys were into the Beatles, and that was just one of those things because the Beatles had stopped being a boy band. They had beards, they dressed weird, and they sang songs that were just from outer space. And here were the Monkees that had a TV show. That, they were the Marx Brothers, and they had these really brilliant songs.
But no, you had started to achieve like some level of success. With the Wigs, you were in a movie, and you started the band. So what makes you decide to leave this group and join this new Monkees project that you heard about?
Yeah. the Whigs had been around. We were a little bit long in the tooth. We had things that were going to be happening to us, but all of that stuff seemed to fizzle away when I was given a call by my then manager, who said that he had gotten a call from the producers of this TV show who want me to go to the Columbia Pictures lot and go try out for the show. And I said, "What's the show called?" He said, "The New Monkees." And I went, "What?" I literally went, "What?" He said, "The New Monkees." And I said, "Oh, that's kind of," and I went, "That's cool. It's like, is Mickey or Davey or, are they involved in this?" And he said, "I don't know anything about this. Just go to the audition." So I went to the audition, and it was on this, it was so rinky dink. It was in a trailer on the lot, but it was in the middle of a parking lot. And there was this trailer that had, and I've said this before, but it's really, really does mean a lot when you know the feeling that I had on the side of the trailer was the Monkees logo. It just said Monkees. It was a red guitar logo, right?
Yeah.
With a marker above it that said "The New." Wow. So that to me was, well, that was as fine of an example of stealing a copyright as I've ever seen in my life. And literally, I sat down in a bunch of plastic chairs that are outside, and there's all these people in line that are sitting down, about 7 or 8 people, and a woman. They had an idea. There was a Boogaloo Shrimp from the Dancing Boogaloo Shrimp movie, and he's in line, and we're all doing this, and inside the trailer, I hear this. "Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean?" And then the door opens. Says, "Well, fuck you too." Door closes. They go, "Next."
Oh my!
And I'm going, What did they didn't hurt you, did they? Is this some sort of trap? I walk in, there's a woman at the front end of this trailer. She said, "Your name's Martin Ross, and you call me Marty." "Yeah, you call me Marty." Says, "You're from the band The Whigs?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Okay, just want to make sure, because we had another Marty Ross in here earlier." And I just felt, I went, "Oh yeah, the other one. He's doing really well too." So go in there, and there's Matt Fassberg and Vic Fresco. I sit down on a little couch. There's a desk there that's got that peeled off, multi-ply plastic wood look thing. And it's like, it just looks like it just came from behind the trailer and just set up. "So you're Marty Ross, and by the way, you're with the Whigs. It's how long you been in the Whigs? You like playing music? What do you play?" And says, "What made you want to come and audition for the New Monkees?" And I said, "I didn't." I said, "I didn't. I was told to come here." And they went, "Ah." And that was it. They said, "Oh, okay, well, thank you." And I said, "Okay." I walked out, and my manager was in the car waiting. "Come over here, come on." Said, "What did they say? What did they tell you? What did they ask?" They said, "They asked me if I wanted to be why I wanted to be one of the Monkees." I said, "And you told them yes, everything in the world I always wanted." I said, "No," I said, "I didn't. I said it wasn't my idea. I didn't want to be one." And he looked at me and goes, he's the English guy, "You bloody wanker. What the bloody hell are you doing? That was the biggest chance you'll ever have in your own life. Do you know what that means? Do you know what this means? This means the end." It's like, he went off on a rant, and I said, "Maybe you should go try out for it. That's pretty good." So he drove me back to my apartment. A couple days later, get a phone call. "Hi, this is Matt. I want to tell you that there's good news and there's kind of better news." And I went, "What?" He says, "Well, you're not a new Monkee." And I go, "That's the good news, right?" He says, No. He says, "But you're not a new Monkee." I go, what does that mean? He says, well, we've decided to choose 11 people. We've got 7 from New York, and we've got 4 from LA. And we all want you to go to the set of New Gidget, and we're going to work out some improv stuff on the set. I said, oh, okay. And I put the phone down, and my then current girlfriend, I went, I might be on a TV show. And she went, what? I don't know. They're calling me back to be on a TV show. I got a shot at like a TV show. What's it? Is this the new Monkees thing? So, yeah. Oh, well, that'll be fun. I said, yeah, I think so. So I went like a couple days later, and we all sat in another trailer, but this was like a holding tank trailer, not one that had air conditioning or anything. It was like out in the middle of a parking lot, off the set, on the lot. And I felt like, well, I've already had a lot of fun. You know, I get to go on the set of New Gidget, which is, and then we get to go do this crap with, you know, making sure that, you know, who works well with. So we did all this stuff, worked all day, sweat our asses off. I went back home. My girlfriend says, how did you think you did? And I says, I have no idea. I just was there just going with all these other guys. They take 4 of us and they take 4 of us. They all different configurations. Then 2 days later after that, I got the call that I was one of 5.
Oh, wow.
And there was they'd already chosen Larry, Jared, and Dino, but they hadn't chose the last guy. So it was me and a guy named Dean. Now, this is important. The guy named Dean didn't get the gig. Obviously, I did. But he went on to form a little company called Blue Man Group.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I think he had the right idea. I think, you know, and I always thought that the Blue Man Group thing, that I was up against the Blue Man Group guy, but that wasn't what he was doing. But he went and started that. And months later, a year later, this was 1986. 1987, for some coincidence, if you take a look at my picture on the album cover, it's blue. I just don't know whether or not somebody had a joke about it. but forever when I see a blue face, I'm going, oh God. That reminds me of the guy that made the multi-billion-dollar franchise. And here I am stuck on the new Monkees cover. This is so just so cruel. And that's how I got in the new Monkees.
How were you notified that you got the part? That they just notified your manager?
Called me and said, Marty, you're one of the new Monkees. Yeah, we need you to be on an airplane next Tuesday to go to New York. We're going to do some stuff. And we went, and we went to, oh God, it was so, right after that, things happened so fast that you'd think you were in the internet. It was, but we were physically getting dressed, this and that, combed, this and that, deloused. So
that's really the first time you started interacting with the others, with Larry, Jared, and Dino?
Yeah, and then for a year we would do stuff from June of '86 until around July. We started filming of the next year. We went filming of stuff all over that would be used on, particular videos or whatever. We went to New York, did videos. We went to, we went everywhere. We went to a lot of places. We went to a lot. It was just a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Then this guy named Bill Hudnut had a improv class at ABC, and a really well and respected one. And most people that are getting on now in their 40s that are established actors ran through Bill Hudnut's and the ABC Actors Workshop. And that's what we went through. And he did us privately. And we did months and months and months of improv stuff together, to the point where we were really getting the weirdest thing. Here we go. I mean, when we get finally to the stage where we're starting to film, we were given these scripts that weren't really funny. And we thought, oh, these are just guidelines because they've had us do improv. So we did improv all the time when we were trained. I mean, it's exactly like the original Monkees. The whole step of wardrobe, this and that, here to that, music, you know, videos, show of this and that. The whole thing was done exactly the same way. And the only thing that I ever mentioned, I made Mickey laugh one time. I said, you know, we're not that far apart, except I'm not trapped by fame, fortune, and you know, I don't have that trappings. I can actually go out and play any song and end with any song. There won't, oh, I'm not ending with I'm a Believer. You know, I could if I want, but it wasn't my hit. I didn't have any hits, so I really can go out and do anything. It's a surprise.
Well, we spoke with the others about the problem of calling, and you just mentioned yourself of calling it the New Monkees, especially at the time when the group was experiencing like this huge resurgence. So, do you remember the conversations with the producers? Like, you voiced your, like, you know, kind of apprehensiveness about it.
Oh my God, the name. Good Lord, that was one of the things where. There was this beautiful time. We were kind of innocent about it. We, you know, from the time that we got cast till the time that people started seeing the show, there's a definite sweet spot for us. There wasn't really any hate mail or anything. It was like this whole thing. Some people didn't quite get the idea that it wasn't going to be called the New Monkees. It was going to be called something else. And since it was a TV show, you know, we started thinking of it's happening. And everything we did was said, you know what, this is happening like in fast motion, just like the original guys. We want to be our own band. I mean, we haven't even gotten on the air yet. We want to be our own band. We wanted to like kind of do this humor, like break the wall humor, like look at the camera and goes, you know, they really wrote this for us too, and stuff, you know, and it's just, we wanted to do all this stuff because we were assured that, you know, oh yeah, it's going to be called something else. The Gorillas, this and that, this, it was going to be called something else. And when we got to going to New York City for the Today Show or Good Morning America, one of those, we did a whole thing. They introduced us as the New Monkees. It was kind of like, I was then like, oh, yeah, I'm in the New Monkees. Oh, yeah, I guess. Is that going to be the name of your guys? Is that going to be the name of the band? I guess it is. Huh. And the reason why they called it the New Monkees in the end was it was very difficult to get a TV show on independent, and they wanted it. This silly thing, Steve Blauner really didn't want to be watched by anybody. He was a maverick. He did, you know, I mean, here's a guy that's from BBS, you know, Rafelson, Schneider, and Blauner, and they did 5 Easy Pieces and this and all that, and Movie Head, and you know, he doesn't want to follow any rules, and thereby taking the offer from Fox, was going to have their first season on 87 for 2 seasons, and threw it out the window. We don't need you. We don't need Fox, this brand new network. You're not going to last more than a year anyway. You know, you're going to go under. You don't know what, you know, that was the thing. That was, so along with that, being introduced everywhere as the New Monkees, I just kind of went, okay, we're going to be called the New Monkees. That's what it is. That's what it is. What could go wrong?
Well, even the Gorillas might have even been a better name, like you just said. It's like, you know, that would have been might have been great.
Well, they had to call us the Gorillas. They had to call us the Gorillas one day at a recording studio when I know that it was fixed that for some strange reason the Monkees and the New Monkees were
going to ask about that
the same day at a studio with the same drum kit. I knew that this was like fixed. It just was so fixed. You know, it just stunk of it just stunk of just producer manipulation.
Oh, sure.
And Mickey and Peter and Davey weren't really ready to talk to us. They weren't. They didn't know what to deal with us. You know, to them, we represented their career, and they'd been waiting for a bite for a long time. And there they were at the height of their resurgence.
Yeah.
And here were these zit-faced kids that are saying, "Hey, we're the new Monkees. You guys are going to go to hell because we're going to kill you." You know, we never said anything like that, but that was what their perception was. These little kids were going to take our gigs away, and no way were they going to. And we walked by them at the studio. We never said a word, and for about, literally, it was like a thing from Police Squad, the TV show, where they used to do the garbage cans, and they used to fire, and they pan over, and the other guys are firing from behind the garbage cans. They're only 6 feet apart. You know that. So yeah. So it was like we were about 6 to 8 feet apart. It was us and them, and we weren't saying. We were just talking to ourselves, and they were talking to themselves. That's what happened. No, never did. And I I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same thing. I would have never given them what I wish that I'd done. But, 2020 is whatever.
Right, hindsight.
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020. I would have gone to them and said, can I say 2 things? 1, you guys are my heroes. And 2, I think the name sucks too. So just so that you're aware that we don't really like the name, and
right.
and I was discussing this last night with my wife. One of the great moments. I mean, I have a lot of bad moments about the New Monkees, but let me take a minute to just say that I got a call from my friend saying, "You got to go to Tower Records on Sunset." I go, "Why?" He says, "Just go look." And I looked, and I went, and right there next to the door was the New Monkees album. 3 albums down. On, they used to do them like right. At the record stores. Not only that, it was at Tower Records on Ventura Boulevard, Music Plus on Vine and Fairfax, all over this hub of Hollywood. Was the New Monkees album was up, and I thought, this might actually work. It might actually work. So my parents came into town 2 weeks later, and I said, "You got to see this." And I went over to Music Plus on Vine, and it had graffiti all over it already. Well, there's another one. We can go to another one. I
gotta tell you, I did enjoy the album, but Rafelson, who you just mentioned, recently passed away, and you did post about this, and that he came to direct an episode of the New Monkees. That you posted about that on Facebook. What was some of your memories about him?
He's a grumpy guy. Really a very grumpy guy. But he was a tall man, and he walked into a room, it was like, wow, that's him. That's fucking Bob Rafelson. I feel like, okay, all of a sudden, I did go up to, it was Dino. I said, "Bob Rafelson's here." And he goes, "I know, man. And he's upped our game." We're legitimate. We felt like the kids, that like all of a sudden, whereas, so he sat down in a chair, and I sat down, we all sat down in chairs, and he proceeded to interview us. And we did, a lot of that, and he said, "Do something that you want to do." It was like any other session. It was just him directing. I did notice that the set was completely quiet, and the set was. There was always this red bell, the bell, this and that. You have to be quiet. You have to be quiet. But it was really quiet because I knew that all of the people that were working on the show were trying to learn things from the master, trying to learn how to do this, and it was really, really a thing of respect. I remember when and it was very interesting when he came to direct. We did do very good work that day. He literally let us do things that were improv. Finally, we had him come in and say, do whatever you guys want to do. And of course, we had been like 4 episodes into the show, into the series, and we had been literally trained to just say what's exactly on the paper, on the script, to say that. We would break up and laughing at some of the stuff, and the crew would laugh, and they go, cut, there, no, who's laughing? We'll have no laughing here on the set. And it was like we would do some funny things, and there was one time when I did this funny thing with Dino, and well, you know, it was one of those things where he had his hair so tightly done with this hairdo, and I said, you know, as you get older, what are you going to do with the hair on your neck? You're going to clip it or make it just like straight out? And people just started laughing, because it was like, oh, that's kind of funny. It was, and the humor of it was, I lifted up the whole piece and went, what are you going to do when that hair gets stiff? When it gets big, you're gonna use hairspray on it? And he said, nah, I'm going to keep it the way it is. And we would do stuff, and that wasn't very funny, but it was funny compared to what we were saying in the script.
So when you first started hearing, I mean, you heard the backlash from fans like right away. Is that when did you start getting?
I didn't hear no. I didn't hear the backlash. No. None of the 4 of us heard the backlash. We were in a cocoon bubble. You know, it was when we were doing an episode with the Del Rubio triplets called it was the mail show, and they put out all this mail from bags all over the set, and it was real fan mail, but it wasn't to us. It was to the Partridge Family, it was to this and that, it was to Davey, it was to Monkees fan mail from 1967. I mean, it was literally fan mail to other TV shows, because they all went to the same P.O. box. So here it was, just stacks and stacks, and I noticed, hey, is there any new Monkee fan mail? I found one over here, it's to you. So we found a bag and was like, over to this, and I literally read it, and it was like, you assholes, what do you think you're doing, you know? And it was like one piece of mail, but they brought in mail, and they would come and give us our morning mail in our trailers. And so I'd get 10, 15 a day or something. Larry would get 100. You know, that's what it was. But one day I was hanging around with the crew, and I was just having a beer with them at the end of the day. And bizarre enough, my girlfriend was throwing a party for Terry Hanratty, a former quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, wow. Not the other Terry, not Bradshaw, Hanratty. And I said I didn't want to go to that. So I stayed around, and I said, you know, I've never been, you know, all around this place, you know. So we went, it was fascinating to me, you know, because we were only just getting dressed, this and that, go here, you get fed here, you act here, you do this. And that was it. So I went into one place, was behind the set where there was the diner, and there was a huge, you know, those huge U.S. mail baskets that are on rollers. There was 3 or 4 of them that were filled with mail, and it's all said to the new Monkees, this, that. I started opening it. This had been already gone through. They were already opened, and somebody in the crew had been given the unfortunate task of trying to find the good mail to give to the guys.
Oh my! Wow.
Oh no!
So, well, because this was all hate mail, it was absolutely incredible. Thousands of hate mails, just incredible. Now, I thought, you know, when I was getting my 5 to 15 a day, I was going, hey, you know, it's a little bit, it's happening. Larry was popular. But there was bags and bags and bags and bags and bags and bags and bags of, you guys go to hell, die, this and that. You know, there were death threats and fans and this and that. And it made my stomach turn. And I was thinking that was the day that the music died. And
so at what point of the show is this that you're thinking that this is not going to work out? At what point is this that you realize?
This is about the third or fourth episode.
Oh my, wow.
Yeah, third or fourth episode. The album was out. And no, yes. We were shooting, the album got released around the second, third episode. Because I remember we were doing videos. We would go do the TV show. We would get done at 5 or 6, and then we'd drive off and go sing songs from the album and stuff like that.
Right.
And we were playing tracks and doing this. And oh my God, it's the same thing as the Monkees. I mean, like literally, except without the trappings of fame and fortune. Like it's a repeatable thing, but it really does make sense. So Warner Brothers made a great album for us. They literally were serious about this. And when we were in the midst of making the record, Roberta Peterson kept asking me, what songs do you want to do? Do you have any songs? And I said, I don't have anything that's really great. I have some stuff that has been around, but nothing that's really new. And she said, well, why don't you just go record some of your new stuff with this guy named Chopin? And I go, oh, Chopin, I know who he is. He's a guy in LA that does demos for bands and worked for Columbia Pictures Television Music at the time. So I'd go over there and do some tunes with them. This is while their songs are being figured out for the album. And I go back to Roberta Peterson at Warner Brothers, and I have a cassette of these 2 songs that I said, I know musicians say this all the time, but this is really demo stuff. This is really, really raw. This isn't done at all. Some of the lyrics aren't there. But it's just for you to hear. And she said, I was just going to go into Lenny's office. Let's have Lenny listen to this. I went, no, Lenny Waronker, the president of Warner Brothers. No, this isn't how I want. I never met the man before. He's down the office. I'm with this. And I got this kind of a half-assed demo. I mean, it's really half-assed. I mean, I will stand by that and say that these 2 songs were really not worthy of playing to the president of Warner Brothers. So I walk in there and I go, please don't. She said, he hears everything. He knows what to hear. And I go, oh no. And I literally thought at that moment, this is just as we're doing about the second show, first show, second show. And yeah, so this had to have been earlier than that because the show had been out, the album had to have come out at the same time. So this is while we're doing episodes. I get mixed up because we do shoot shows and then we go record. It's all a bunch of stuff, but this had to have been before. So before the show premiered. So we're still working. I walk in there and he turns around, plays the cassette, and it is so vile and bad. It's a bad thing. It doesn't sound like anything that's current, doesn't sound anything marketable. It doesn't sound like anything that belongs on any record label. And he goes like this, turns around in his chair and looks at me and says, I wasn't expecting that. So to me, that was the end of my personal business with Warner Brothers. And what happened after that is that they would ask me, send me songs. Which songs do you think I would like to do? And because I'm not going to sign a publishing deal, and I'm not going to do that because the deal was so bad it was criminal. So they would send me songs to my apartment every single day, cassettes, this and that, listen to this. And I would listen to all of them. And I put one of the cassettes in and I started, and I knew exactly, it was the freaking Wigs. And it was a song called Affection. And I listened to this and I went, are you kidding me? I call her up and I say, you know, this new demo that you sent me to buy that's got a song called Affection. Oh yes, that's a song by Ken Brown. He's with us. We're not sure what we're going to do with him, but we believe in that song. I said, well, no wonder. I'm singing it. That's my band. We did that song. And she goes, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. And I went, yeah, they sent me a song that I sang on for consideration for me to sing on for an album. The worst thing that happened at Warner Brothers. This is the best. And I've said this before, but this is going to be the one that really kind of gets where you're going now. It was Christmas time, and as we all know, the holidays get celebrated all over Hollywood. And I got sent. I opened up, got the knock on the door, and I went, "Who is it?" It's a delivery. Okay, so I got a delivery. Opened the door up, and there is a huge basket that has a Warner Brothers label stuck on the side of the cellophane, and a bottle of Dom Perignon and expensive cheeses from the Beverly Hills Cheese Shop. Oh my God, this was so far above my monetary state at that time. And it was incredible. And I of course I celebrated with it. And it was an incredible time. I felt so, even though I was being sent my own songs, getting sent a nice Christmas basket. Well, so I had been put on retainer by by Columbia, so I was get a check every month, and so I got the check, and the check was minus $300, and it said Xmas gift. They took money out of my paycheck for my Christmas. Wow. Yeah, that's show business.
That is show. I was going to say that's show business, man. I mean, it's incredible.
It's not anything that you can actually absorb in less than for me to try to absorb that, and it was strange because at the time while we were filming the show, before we were filming the show, Jared and I, it was like this. Jared, Dino, and Larry, I believe, they all lived within the SAG rules of being out of town, Los Angeles, which means that they get a per diem and an apartment to live in and rental car. They all got that. Well, I lived in LA, so according to SAG rules, I didn't get any of that.
Right.
So they lived in apartments. They lived in month by month apartments, and I'd go over to their house, and they'd make me up a bag of groceries from the bag of groceries that they were all getting every single day, and give me food. Here I was within the band, begging. I'm really hungry, guys, and I was so thin. I swear I saw you could put a torchlight in my back and you'd see my ribs. Oh my. Yeah, I was very, very thin, but it was. I went to Steve Blau and I said, that I'm really dying here. I'm not eating. I don't have money for rent. I had to quit my, work. I can't play in the wigs. I can't go do all that stuff. I'll loan you a couple grand to get you by till you start getting on the payroll, but you got to pay me back. And I thought, gee, what a nice guy. Wow. And he was a nice guy, but at the time I thought that was just really ridiculous. That I have to borrow money from the TV show in order to be on the TV show so that I could have things to eat.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was that talk of cancellation? How did that conversation go with you? I mean,
that's even worse. No, that's the worst. No, that's the worst of all. That's the worst conversation that you can possibly ask me to have. And I thank you, young gentlemen, for drawing me into it. I'd been in Chicago. I'd been in Chicago and Milwaukee, and I had been doing promo work for the show. And Milwaukee, it was particularly annoying because half the places where I would go would have me go to the zoo, and outside the monkey exhibits. Hi, this is Marty Ross from the new Monkees, and watch our television show on WFLD in Chicago. And it would be always like in front of zoo. It would be,
oh my God.
It would be like in front of Monkees. So it'd be like, that was like, you know, the thing. So I did those two things, stayed with my folks for a bit. We were off. We were off until January or February. We were finding out whether or not we were going to get renewed or not. People were basically saying, I think we'll get renewed, but you know, nobody ever knows. One thing is that they need programming. So I got off the plane, and when you're in Screen Actors Guild, there's a certain thing. You have to come from a certain place. You fly first class. That's not something that's like a braggadocio thing that actors do because they have money. That's a rule that SAG says all their actors that are in SAG have to fly first class. That's just how it always has been. So I flew first class, and also since I was getting dropped off at the airport by the airplane, I got picked up by a limousine to take me back to the house, which was about 15 miles away. You take the LAX, you go to 405, you take the 101, you get off the first exit, and that's where you would go. So that's like the SNL skit, The Californians. You take the 405, man, you go up, down, and then you take off on the 101, you get off on Van Nuys. So in any case, we're about halfway the trip, and we're going in front of the federal building, which is at Wilshire and the 405. And the phone rings, and it's one of those old corded ones, right? Hi. It goes, hey, how's it going? Hi. And yeah, I hate to tell you this, but the show's been canceled. And I go, oh, we kind of knew it. Yeah, I mean, we knew it was gonna. I thought we were gonna maybe get the rest of the shows because we were contracted for 22, for crying out loud. That's as an independent show, you know, but we got canceled. And he said, yeah, well, there's worse news than that. Says what? It says the limo ride is contracted at $320.
Oh.
And I go, what? Says you got a choice. I can't pay for it. I can't pay for it because the show's canceled. So can you get out there right there and you can get a cab? Is that okay? And I went, what? He says, yeah, right at the federal. My suitcase and me dumped off out of the limousine in front of the federal building on Wilshire and Sepulveda. I had to go back to find a payphone and called up for a cab to make it to the restaurant. I got dropped off.
I'm just like dumbfounded. It's like I can't close my mouth over this ridiculousness. I mean, that's just yeah.
You have by far the worst story out of everyone we've heard so far. Oh my God.
Well, they just don't remember it well. Yeah, so you know, and of course, after that, trying out and auditioning for bands was very difficult. Oh my God. Because if you were forming a band, let's just say you two guys are forming a band, and you found a drummer and you're playing bass and you're playing guitar and you're looking for a lead singer or a guitar player, and this is 1987 and 1988, you're just starting out, you're starting a band, but you've got great connections and everything. And the people sit there and say, yeah, we really like this guy. He's really great. Find out more about him. And then they find out he was on that new Monkees show. No band would take you in. No band would. Well, because how are you supposed to say how legitimate are you to being a rock and roll band if one of the guys is from the new Monkees, a canceled, hated show, you know? So, you know, I couldn't get into a band to save my ass. It was pretty hard. There were a couple bands that I did do some stuff with a band called the Orchids, which was really great. Oh my God, that music is so good. The Orchids from St. Louis, Robert Coleman, and we did a couple shows for record company people, but it was almost as if isn't that guy from the Monkees?
Wow.
It just was. I was a pariah. I couldn't get a gig.
Well, what did you end up doing, and how long did that?
Well, apparently it didn't work because I'm still here.
Oh
no, yeah. What did I end up doing? Well, in the long run, I ended up in 1990. Well, I ended up getting married. That's the best thing to do. The best defensive measure. I found this woman and I, Doreen. We had known each other, and she worked for BMI, and we fell in love and got married. And after that, I got some work and I did a lot of things. I've done a lot of things that I've done for movies and TV, and I did library music for a company called Reicher. Now that
you're part of the Wrecking Crew, I was reading.
Oh, that's when everything is healed and everything gets good. Yeah, we went from dirt road to cement. Jeez, I mean, the Wrecking Crew story. My family we had some friends that knew some people that lived on a place called Lopez Island in Washington, and it was it's a great story because have you got a couple minutes, or you both have barber meetings, or
not at all.
Oh, okay. All right, so in any case, she invited a friend over. She invited a friend over to her house named Don, and Don brought over a guitar, and we were going to have a hootenanny, and we started playing. I said, "Do you know the Jackson 5 stuff?" And I said, "I think it goes like this: da 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 da. Oh, baby, give me one more chance." And so he looked at me and said, "No, that's not the way that's done." I went, "Oh, really?" He says, and you would know just because it's me on the record. And I went, "Oh." And he says, Don Peak. Oh God, Doreen, you didn't tell me it was Don Peak. It was Don Peak from the Wrecking Crew. And I went, "Oh my God." So he played on and here's this guy that, I said, "So tell me your story." He says, "Well, I started off being a guitar player for the Everly Brothers in the early 60s. Then I left that to be in Ray Charles' band. And then I started working with the Wrecking Crew, and I'm on so many, I'm on, 50, 60, 70 number ones. And he's the guitar player. And it's like, oh my God, he's like on everything. And so we became good friends, and we hung around, and we would do stuff. And then we came to Lopez Island again one year, and he had a pickup band at the bar. And I was taking Doreen home. We had dinner, and Don said, "You should come up. You should come up and play." And his then girlfriend, now wife, Judy Pulver, who's a singer herself, said, "Yeah, you should come and see the band or whatever." So I went back about 9:30 at night. I'm tired, but it's one of those feelings. I say, I think I should go back to that club. Just go back to the club to see what happens. I go back to the club. And out of the middle of nowhere, Don says, "Marty Ross, you're here. You got to come up on stage and sing a song." I went, "Oh no, okay, yeah. I don't know anything that you know." So I said, "Do you know House of the Rising Sun?" He says, "We don't, but we'll get through it." And so I will tell you that's one of the biggest thrills I've ever had in my life. Wow. What happened after that? What happened after that? And this sounds like one of those movie moments, but it really happened. There's all these people, 50, 60, 70 people that are eating their food. That's like a restaurant on the shore, with all the fishing nets on the wall, you know, that kind of place. So I start singing House of the Rising Sun, and I just figure, hell, I'll just belt it. I'll just go crazy. I'll go and just sing the best version ever. And one by one, the people all got up from their dinner and walked towards the stage, and just all stood there looking at me with their mouths open. It was fly catching season. And so it was an incredible experience. They all just looked, and it was amazing. After I was done singing The House of the Rising Sun, the place went into this 30, 60-second applause thing. I mean, out of a small crowd, you know how much harder that is than at a bigger crowd. So in a small crowd, it's like doing this, I walked over and I walked to his girlfriend, Judy, and she said, looked at me and said, "What the hell was that? My God, you're great." And then Don Peake comes over and says, "I'm doing a gig with the Wrecking Crew in 2 weeks. Would you like to play it? Would you like to sing it for us, please?" And I went, "Why, sure. I'd love to, of course." And that's how that started. I started playing with them, and Don Randy, Chuck Berghofer, some of the best musicians. I mean, John Randy, the piano player from Pet Sounds, you can't go, you can't really, Chuck Berghofer, the bassist from These Boots Were Made for Walking. And I'm up there on stage and singing, and I feel like I'm in the record. So I started doing Glenn Camp. They asked me to sing Glenn Campbell songs. And I've been doing it. We're doing another gig. We're doing a big gig, actually. We're playing a theater. Yeah, we're playing another gig. Where's my notes? No. Yeah, we're playing another gig, and it's at the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood. And it's just been absolutely renovated and beautiful. And we're playing this theater. Yeah, and it's going to be great. I love playing with these guys. In the rehearsals, it's so much fun. I mean, one day I'm looking on the little refrigerator in his studio. It says, "If I were a carpenter," arrangement. And I looked and I picked it up and said, "This isn't the Bobby Darin thing." He says, "Yeah, I arranged that. That's my session." Wow. And you just go all around. I look at the pictures of him, and he's sitting there explaining to Sonny Bono, "I got you, babe." And it's like, you sit there and see "Let's Get It On," that that's him. And I'm going, I'm not worthy, so it is an actual, for me to go from, and not only that, but I believe that I am the first, I think, if it goes right, I don't know how to say this, but as a new Monkee, Marty Ross is playing with the guys that played on the first two Monkee albums. I don't think there's anybody else that can say that. I think that I'm the only person in the world that's done that, live on stage. The Don Peake arranged more of the Monkees, and he's the guitar player on most of that stuff. So, and that's the guy that I'm on stage with. So it turned itself around. The new Monkees thing, which was a disaster in so many ways, I was able to find 3 friends that we've had for, we're friends. We always have a joke about about a reunion and this and that, and it's always funny because we say, "Yeah, but what are we going to play?" Yeah, so, this time, why don't we play the originals, all their songs? Because I mean, they know. I mean, people know those. So yeah, it turn it around and play with the Wrecking Crew live and play shows. It's one of those things where I talk to other musicians, and it's so great, because if I say, "So, hey Marty, what have you been doing lately?" "Oh, I'm singing live shows with the Wrecking Crew." That's and they go, "What? I didn't hear about this." Yeah. Or it's been all the musicians say, "I hear I see you singing with the Wrecking Crew." That, because what that does is that validates everything that the New Monkees tried to do, but it didn't work with the New Monkees. It was like it was held back as being a fault that you were even with the band by other musicians that I would tell. But other musicians would say, hey, it was a gig, you know, it was whatever, you know. But to be in the Wrecking Crew and to be singing for them, it validates me and makes me feel really, really great to be a part of that.
Well, the others also mentioned that you're the one that's responsible for basically the thawing of the relationship with Mickey, and you know, so how did that happen?
Well, that if you can get Mickey to laugh, then you're in. It's just one of those things, you know. It took a long time, and he was very, you know, I wouldn't like me either, but you know, it was actually almost all the responsibility. You can blame Jody Ritson for this. Jody Ritson handles Mickey Dolenz' outside business, such as karaoke and meet and greets, and has known Mickey for many years now, probably 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know, but she is a darling housewife from Lansdale, Pennsylvania, who with her moxie was able to get herself within a business and make Mickey realize income potential where he hadn't thought of it before. And she also said at one point, you know, Mickey's going to be doing a charity at a bowling alley. And I went, oh. And I said, okay. And I just said, I'll give to that charity. And she said, but you know, you and Dino will come. And so we had dinner the night before, and I put some money into the charity. And she said, is it okay if Marty and Dino come up and sing? He said, I have no problem with it. And that was literally, we sang Harry Nilsson songs, who Harry and I there's another thing that is really strange, is that I knew Harry really well, not as well as Mickey knew him, but we hung around a lot in the 80s. And so went to his house and wrote songs and stuff. But there's a lot. Also, I was given a 1959 MGA, a car, one beautiful car. And that was the original Monkey Mobile before the Barris thing. That was the one that's the blue car that they're sitting in.
Oh, wow.
So how can I, it sounds like I'm a creep. You know, I've got this, and I got the car like yours, and I mean, how creepy can I be? I don't know. So in any case, I haven't seen Mickey in a while, and you know, one time, the times when I was been on stage and jammed, played with the band, you know, he trusted me, and I think this is something that's very telltale. You don't have to tell anybody about how Mickey feels about me anymore if I tell you that he introduced me to go onto a stage while he took a little break and I took over for him. That right, he gave me his stage with his musician. So that's all you need to know.
Yeah,
that's great.
Wow.
Yeah, I did a joke once with him. Him and Coco do this thing because they sung together when they were kids. They sing these songs, and they were at a Coco Dolenz gig, and he went up there and they did the same, just really fast repartee, but all in harmony, all in harmony of this song. I can't remember the title, but I was blown away by how in lock and in sync they were. And after that show, Mickey and I were talking, and I said, how long you been doing it? Was that your first time seeing that? He said, yeah, I think I've seen it before, but I've never seen it like quite like that. He said, yeah, we've been doing that for 50 years or so, 50, 60 years. I said, And I said, one of these days you guys are going to get it.
Well, any possible plans to play with them again?
If I show up, the thing that's pretty assured is that he's so busy and he's just such a workaholic. And if anybody wants to sit there and just have a reason why the Monkees had any resurgence that have continued on the popularity, you can always say that Mickey Dolenz has been out there doing this since the beginning. He never quit. He never stopped. He would directed movies for a while in England. He did things, but he would do, it's just him. He is such a dynamo, and he goes out and he does it and he does it. I'll tell you, the experience of going out and my friend went to see me. He said, you've done Last Train to Clarksville and Valerie, and you've done some of their songs before on stage. And I said, yeah. And that was in a cover band. Now you're in the band. If you're singing on stage with Mickey Monkee songs, you're not in a cover band anymore. You're in the band. And so that's a thrill that I always will have. And being around him, sure. He's always just a gentleman, a really gentleman. To give me the time of day, for Christ's sake. Although I didn't try to ruin his career, it all but intents and purposes for a long time for him, thought I meant that I was trying to take away his career, but he knows better. He knew that it was a TV show. But what he couldn't stand the fact was that the guys that were doing the other show, the guys that did his show, were now doing this again. The puppeteer was trying to get new puppets. And that, he'd worked all his adult life in preserving that thing by playing those songs, by doing those things, by doing it. Mike Nesmith would come out every freaking 4 years for a set or two, as if like it made it be established that now it's the Monkees. Says no, it was the Monkees because Mickey made that possible for fans to be there in the first place. It could have been a one-off show at the Pantages. No, there was an end show there. There was a continuation. There was the Monkees present. There was this and that. It was Mickey that made all that happen. Peter, God bless rest his soul, and Mike Nesmith, rest his soul, and Davey. It is kind of a strange thing to be living in a world where there's just one of them, but it's what happens with life, and here we are. All I'm saying is, hey, there's 4 of us. No.
Well, you're part of. You post about it often. Monkey Mania Radio. Can you just tell what's that about?
Oh my God, there's such a great radio station. I'm a DJ on this station that has great DJs and wonderful. It's available on the Live 365 app, and you go in there, and once you just dial in Live 365, you join up for free. Or you can be given, you join up for free, and you type in Monkey Mania Radio, and 24 hours a day we're playing Monkey music, and they're playing new Monkees music, and they're playing solo stuff, and they're playing it's just an incredible station. It has such a wide breadth of monkeydom that it is really fun to listen to, because you'll find tracks and things and live cuts that were never performed, never played on radio stations before. It's really a fun place to be, and I recommend it for anybody that wants to get an education into the Monkees. We do play the hits, but we focus a lot on the breadth of the entire career of each 4 of them, and it's so many different things that they've done. It's incredible. I love the station, and I'm glad to be part of it. So you can get that on Monkey Mania Radio via the Live 365 app. That's Live 365, and listen away. I'm on I'm on every day. I'm on Monday through Friday, as are the rest of the jocks. And we started off, it was kind of just such a haberdashery, throwing stuff at and didn't know quite how to do it. And we did it by whoops and coughs and hips and yips. And now I go and listen to it, and it's a real station. You know, it's just like the Monkees. You know, it's like a real band. A fun station. Yes. Yeah, it's really, really like that. How much longer is that? Do you have to? Don't you get a little tired of having that in your house?
Which one?
The new Monkees album cover. I mean,
I do not get tired.
It's so sweet of you to have that in your kitchen.
It's over my bed. I do enjoy the album quite a bit.
Okay, wait a minute. Now you tell me, what do you like about the album? I mean, the production's pretty good.
You know what? When the show came out, I was all into the new show because I was a huge Monkees fan. Right.
Wait a minute. You're the one that got it?
Yes. I was a huge fan. I got the album. I listened right away. It was I thought it was a mistake. Even at the time, I thought it was a mistake naming it New Monkees, but I was still all in. But the show did not give any of you service, in my opinion. And I said this because the original show showcased the others, and it showed them, it showed their sides also. And I thought it was also great that they posted, like, you know, the audition process where you get to see the people. I don't think that they gave you the same consideration always in the new show.
Oh, come on. They gave us every chance in the world.
I did not think that. I did not think that at the time. I really thought that they did a disservice to the four of you.
Well, so, you know what? You see the four of us together in anything like modern now, you see how dull we are. Hey, why don't you answer that one?
I enjoy watching the YouTube videos when I see all of you get together. And
yeah, we're trying to, you know what? We're trying to get that, you know, obviously that would be good to have that released in a Blu-ray or whatever the thing is. Some guy found them, the broadcast masters. So there is the broadcast masters, and that's the best I think you're going to get.
Well, with the four of you getting together again to go a show or anything?
Oh yeah, why don't you, and I want you to be Larry. Yeah. When my mother, I went home to see my parents, and of course, in the whole country, the only city above 150,000 people that didn't have the New Monkees on was my hometown, Rockford.
Oh.
It was so my parents weren't really aware of it, so I bring home video cassettes, which aren't quite as special when you put it in. And my mother would sit there and say, you know, when my mother asks, which one are you? And I said, I'm your son. I'm Marty. She said, no, Davy, are you Peter? Oh my God. If it's my mother that's got confusion over this, then this is really, you know, I did show, there was the time that I showed up at my parents' house in a limo. And then there was another time when I showed up in a Honda Civic rental car. so it was like, what happened to the first thing my dad says when I pull up in a Honda Civic, and it was a yellow one. No, it was like, you know, one of those awful things. What happened to the show? But my parents came out and saw me do on the set and all that. That was very impressive to them to go see this huge set and stuff. Across the street from us, and where we were doing the show, was Michael Landon Productions, which was like anybody would tell anybody at the New Monkees thing. If you walked over to Michael Landon Productions and see how they do their thing, and then you come back over to the New Monkees,
yeah,
how they're doing stuff, it was quite a different arrangement. We had, you know, the thing about that picture is, out of all the pictures that they showed of Larry, why does it look like he's not happy? That's his cover photo.
They went for smoldering.
Now the Monkees did an album that was in the early 90s that had these same color scheme, didn't it? Like,
yeah, I believe.
Did they know that our album was like that, or was this like fuck them? Is that what it was?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I've had a lot of people saying, "And you guys stole the Monkees album cover." I said, "No, this came before it." Yeah, the minds at Warner Brothers came up with this, which is really the only affront to this album cover is that there is no particular one way that you can actually get an idea of what the band is.
Right.
You got to turn it and then no wait, not that way. No, it doesn't say New Monkees. I mean, you even got this one that says Monkees. Monkees.
Well, there's no sense of the fun. Now, I have to ask you before we let you go. Also, you posted.
No. We're here till 9 o'clock tonight.
We're here.
Yeah.
But you posted about you're doing songs now for a possible new album.
Oh, I have a new album. It's completely done.
There we go.
It's 10 songs. Christian Nesmith produced it.
Oh, fantastic!
And I wrote 10 songs. Actually, I wrote 10 songs. 11 of them, and one of them is a Todd Rundgren cover from Utopia. But no, it's the best album I've done in 30 years. It's the only album I've done. I haven't done any album.
When's this coming?
Yeah, so I wrote all these songs, and I really enjoyed the process. The album is crisp. It sounds fresh. If you like stuff that sounds old, it's got a kind of like I'm doing a series of 3 albums. Is my thought of this. My theory is that this is going to be an album that is all entails about the 80s and the 90s sound. This is kind of like what that sounds like. This sounds like the 90s or the 80s, or it's not that over 80s drum sounding, but it's like these are songs. They have a hook, they have a chorus, they have this and that, they have instruments, the guitars, bass and drums and keyboards and singing, lots of vocals. Like in one song is over 25, 30 vocal passes that I do. Mm-hmm. And Christian and I worked on this pretty heavily. The next album that I'm going to have after this, I'm going to do new songs that are all written in the style of the 50s and written in the style of the 50s with kind of a new wave attitude to them. The song after that, I don't know what the third one's going to be, but it's going to be probably more experimental music. So these are a series of 3 albums that will thus conclude the pain and misery of my career. And I think before I let you go, that's what you guys are saying.
No, well, I want to hear, when's this coming out?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care. I got to have a few things done, like album cover art and distribution and things like that. I got to videos. I got to do a bunch of stuff before I'm going to sell those T-shirts that said I worked 2 years on this album, 10 songs for everybody to hear and nobody listened. That kind of thing. I'm not rushing there's no need to rush for a new flop. Tell me, how does anybody release an album now? I mean, where do you do it? Well, how do you make yourself stick out? I have a feeling that I'm going to be doing a lot of things with fire and nudity. If I could set myself on fire and do the lip sync to the track with women stripping in the background, I might have a winner.
Can you come here for the show so we could get some ratings for this?
Yeah. Look, I got 961 views and all the scar tissue. Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, you guys have been very fair with me. I want you to know that the New Monkees was a trial and tribulation, and also some of the most fun I've ever had. It cost me a lot. It cost me a lot in terms of recognition for being a straight musical person for a long time. But when I finally got my foot back, people understand now that I can sing and dance.
Yeah, no, thank you. You've been very gracious with your time. We really appreciate it. And again, this has been Pop Culture Retro.
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger and a French.
I'm Jonathan Rosen with Ike Eisenmann, and again, a very special thanks to Marty Ross. And please subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.